For many years, cereal was considered the safe breakfast for older adults. Easy to chew, easy to digest, quick to prepare. Doctors recommended it, caregivers relied on it, and millions of seniors still start their mornings with a bowl of flakes or grains floating in milk. But here's the hard truth most people are never told. After 60, cereal quietly works against muscle strength. Not because it's poisonous or forbidden, but because it delivers the wrong signals to aging muscles at the worst possible time of day. High carbohydrate breakfasts spike blood sugar, raise inflammation, and leave muscles underfed within hours. Over time, this pattern accelerates weakness in the legs, hips, and arms. That's why so many seniors say they feel fine after breakfast, but weak by late morning. Or steady one day, shaky the next, or energized for an hour, then suddenly drained. Muscle loss after 60 isn't just about protein intake. It's about what kind of breakfast tells your muscles whether to build or break down. New research shows that when older adults replace cereal-based breakfasts with specific whole foods, muscle strength improves faster than expected. Balance stabilizes, fatigue decreases, recovery improves, and this happens even without adding exercise. Today, we're going to walk through 5 breakfast foods that work far better than cereal for rebuilding muscle strength after 60. These are foods commonly found in American and European kitchens, affordable, familiar, and easy to prepare. We're not talking about supplements, powders, or extreme diets, just smarter breakfasts that aging muscles actually respond to. We'll start with the foundation food that looks like cereal's cousin, but behaves completely differently inside the body. Before we begin, take a moment and think about this. Which feels harder now than it did 10 years ago? Standing up, climbing stairs, carrying groceries, or keeping balance? You're not alone, and what you eat in the morning plays a bigger role than most people realize. Let's begin. Food number 5. Steel-cut oats, not the boxed cereal. At first glance, oats may look like just another cereal. But the difference between boxed cereal and steel-cut oats is enormous, especially after 60. Most cereals are heavily processed. They digest quickly, spike blood sugar, and provide very little protein relative to calories. Steel-cut oats, on the other hand, digest slowly and create a stable metabolic environment that protects muscle tissue. After 60, unstable blood sugar is one of the biggest drivers of muscle breakdown. When glucose rises and crashes, the body releases cortisol, a stress hormone that quietly breaks down muscle to keep blood sugar stable. This happens even if you eat enough protein later in the day. Steel-cut oats slow that entire process down. When eaten at breakfast, they provide steady energy over several hours, keeping muscles out of breakdown mode. Studies on older adults show that breakfasts that stabilize blood sugar lead to better muscle retention throughout the day, even when total protein intake stays the same. An older man in his early 70s replaced his usual cereal with steel-cut oats cooked in milk. After a few weeks, he noticed his legs no longer felt heavy by mid-morning. He didn't feel stronger immediately, but he stopped feeling weaker. That's often the first step toward rebuilding strength after 60. The structure of steel-cut oats matters. Instant oats behave more like sugar and don't provide the same benefit. Steel-cut oats keep their shape, digest slowly, and prevent the insulin spikes that sabotage muscle recovery. On their own, oats are protective, but the next breakfast food actively feeds muscle in a way cereal never can. Steel-cut oats create the right environment for muscle, but they don't supply enough building material on their own. The next breakfast food does both. It feeds muscle directly while staying gentle on aging digestion. Food number 4, plain Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is one of the most reliable muscle-supporting breakfasts after 60, especially for people who feel weaker despite eating enough protein. The reason is simple. As we age, stomach acid and digestive enzymes decline. When that happens, dense proteins are harder to break down and absorb. Greek yogurt solves this problem through fermentation. Fermentation partially predigests the protein, meaning your body doesn't have to work as hard to access the amino acids. For older adults, this translates into more usable protein-reaching muscle tissue instead of passing through the system unused. Studies on aging and nutrition consistently show that fermented dairy leads to better muscle retention compared to non-fermented protein sources eaten alone. Greek yogurt also contains leucine, the amino acid that signals muscle to start rebuilding. After 60, that signal becomes weaker, so easier absorption matters more than sheer protein quantity. A woman in her late 70s replaced her morning cereal with a bowl of plain Greek yogurt and fruit. Within a month, she noticed she felt steadier when standing up from chairs and less fatigued before lunch. Her diet didn't change much overall, but her muscles finally started responding again. Greek yogurt also provides calcium, which is essential for muscle contraction and nerve communication. Weak muscles often aren't just smaller, they misfire. Calcium helps restore proper signaling, which improves coordination and balance. The key is choosing plain Greek yogurt. Sweetened versions raise blood sugar and increase inflammation, which works directly against muscle repair. When paired with berries or oats, plain Greek yogurt becomes a powerful breakfast that cereal can't compete with. Even so, Greek yogurt still feeds muscle for a relatively short window. The next breakfast food extends that window far longer, protecting muscle during one of the most overlooked periods of the day. Food number 3, cottage cheese. Cottage cheese works in a way cereal never could. Instead of delivering quick fuel, it provides slow-digesting protein that feeds muscle over many hours. After 60, a significant amount of muscle loss happens between meals and overnight. This is when the body lacks circulating amino acids and begins breaking down muscle tissue to meet basic needs. Cereal, which is mostly carbohydrate, accelerates this process by providing energy without repair materials. Cottage cheese contains casein protein, which releases amino acids gradually. This keeps muscle supplied long after breakfast ends. Research involving older adults shows that slow digesting protein reduces muscle breakdown and improves strength retention over time. This effect becomes more important with each decade after 60. An 80-year-old man added cottage cheese to his morning routine after years of cereal. After several weeks, he noticed his legs felt less stiff when he got out of bed, and he recovered faster from daily walks. His muscles weren't suddenly larger, but they stopped deteriorating. Cottage cheese also supplies phosphorus and calcium, which support muscle contraction and energy production. Without these minerals, muscles fatigue quickly, even when protein intake appears adequate. Cereal fills the stomach. Cottage cheese feeds muscle. But even slow protein needs the right environment to work. The next breakfast food improves that environment by addressing a problem many seniors don't realize they have. Up to now, we've covered breakfasts that stabilize blood sugar, improve protein absorption, and protect muscle from breaking down too quickly. The next food works at a deeper level. It helps repair muscle tissue that has already been damaged by years of inflammation and undernourishment. Food number 2, warm lentil breakfast bowl. Lentils are rarely associated with breakfast in Western countries, yet nutritionally they are one of the most effective morning foods for rebuilding muscle strength after 60. What makes lentils different from cereal is not just protein content, but the type of amino acids they provide. As we age, muscles lose their ability to repair microscopic damage efficiently. One of the main reasons is a shortage of lysine, an essential amino acid that becomes increasingly important after 60. Eggs and cereal-based breakfasts provide very little lysine. Lentils provide a lot. Lysine plays a critical role in muscle repair and connective tissue maintenance. Without it, Muscles may receive growth signals but fail to rebuild properly. This leads to weakness that doesn't improve no matter how much protein appears in the diet. A man in his mid-70s who replaced his cereal breakfast twice a week with a warm lentil bowl noticed something subtle but important. His muscles felt less sore the day after activity. His legs didn't feel as fragile when walking on uneven ground. These are early signs that muscle repair is improving. Lentils also supply iron and folate, which support oxygen delivery and the formation of new muscle cells. Many older adults are mildly deficient in both, which contributes to fatigue and reduced endurance. Cereal often blocks iron absorption, especially when fortified with calcium, making the problem worse. When lentils are eaten at breakfast, the body has the entire day to use their nutrients for repair rather than burning them for energy. This timing advantage makes them more effective in the morning than at night. Another benefit of lentils is their slow digestion. They provide steady energy without blood sugar spikes, reducing inflammation that interferes with muscle recovery. In contrast, cereal creates rapid glucose rises that trigger muscle breakdown hormones later in the day. Lentils don't need to be complicated. When prepared simply and eaten warm, they act as a repair-focused breakfast that cereal cannot replicate. Even so, repair alone isn't enough. Muscles also need sustained fuel to stay strong throughout the day. That's where the next breakfast food comes in. Food number 1, old-fashioned oatmeal, prepared correctly. Not all oatmeal behaves the same way in the body. Old-fashioned oats, when prepared correctly, function very differently from boxed cereals or instant oats. Old-fashioned oats digest slowly, providing a long, steady release of energy. This keeps insulin stable and prevents the hormone spikes that accelerate muscle breakdown after 60. Cereal does the opposite, flooding the bloodstream with sugar and leaving muscles underfed within hours. What makes oatmeal especially powerful is how it works when paired with protein. When oats are cooked with milk or combined with yogurt, they extend the availability of amino acids, allowing muscles to absorb and use them over time. An older woman in her early 80s who switched from cereal to oatmeal with added protein noticed that her afternoon weakness disappeared. She didn't feel a sudden surge of strength, but her endurance improved. She could stay active longer without feeling depleted. Oats also support gut health, which becomes increasingly important for nutrient absorption with age. A healthy gut allows more protein and minerals to reach muscle tissue instead of being wasted. This doesn't mean oatmeal alone rebuilds muscle. It means oatmeal creates the conditions muscles need to respond to other foods. Cereal fails at this task. At this point, we've covered all 5 breakfast foods that outperform cereal for rebuilding muscle strength after 60. In the next section, we'll explain how to use these foods together without overcomplicating your mornings. Now that we've covered the 5 breakfast foods that outperform cereal, the next question becomes practical. How do these foods actually fit into a real morning routine without turning breakfast into a project? The mistake many older adults make is trying to overhaul everything at once. That usually lasts a week or 2, then old habits return. Muscle recovery after 60 doesn't respond well to extremes. It responds to consistent signals. The first thing to understand is that cereal fails because it sends a single message to the body. Quick energy now, nothing later. The foods we discussed send a very different message. They tell the body that fuel is steady, repair materials are available, and muscle tissue does not need to be broken down to survive the day. Breakfast doesn't need all 5 foods at once. In fact, that can overwhelm digestion. What works best is choosing one main anchor food and letting it do its job. On days when energy drops quickly, or you feel shaky by late morning, oats work well because they stabilize blood sugar and protect muscle throughout the day. On days when muscles feel sore or slow to recover, Lentils or cottage cheese are more effective because they focus on repair and sustained protein delivery. On mornings when digestion feels sensitive, Greek yogurt provides usable protein with minimal stress on the system. This flexibility matters because aging bodies are not the same every day. Muscle rebuilding after 60 is not linear. Some days are about recovery, other days are about stability. The right breakfast supports what the body needs that day instead of forcing the same solution every morning. Another important shift is letting go of the idea that breakfast must feel light. Many people associate lightness with health. After 60, a breakfast that feels too light often means muscles aren't being fed. That leads to weakness later, not strength. This doesn't mean eating large portions. It means eating foods that stay with you, foods that continue delivering amino acids and energy hours after the meal ends. Cereal disappears too quickly to do that job. It's also worth addressing appetite. Many older adults eat cereal because it's easy when appetite is low. But low appetite often improves when blood sugar is stabilized and inflammation decreases. Once the body starts responding, hunger signals normalize. One man in his late 70s who replaced cereal with oatmeal and cottage cheese said his appetite actually improved after 2 weeks. His body stopped crashing and meals started feeling satisfying again. Hydration also plays a role. Muscles that are even mildly dehydrated contract poorly and fatigue quickly. Oats, yogurt, and lentils all hold water and support hydration at the cellular level. Cereal does not. At this stage, strength rebuilding isn't about pushing harder. It's about removing the daily signals that quietly work against muscle. Breakfast is the easiest place to start because it sets the tone for everything that follows. When seniors replace cereal with the right breakfast foods, the first changes are rarely dramatic. There's usually no sudden surge of strength or visible muscle growth. What happens instead is quieter, but far more important. The earliest change most people notice is stability. Standing up feels more controlled. Walking feels less tentative. Movements that once required planning start to feel automatic again. This isn't because muscles have grown larger, it's because muscle fibers are finally being supported instead of constantly breaking down. Another common early change is improved recovery. Many people over 60 assume soreness and stiffness are unavoidable. In reality, much of that discomfort comes from muscles struggling to repair themselves due to poor nutrition timing. When breakfast begins supplying steady fuel and repair materials, soreness fades faster and stiffness eases. Energy patterns also change. Instead of a burst of energy followed by fatigue, mornings become more even. People report feeling capable later into the day without needing to sit down as often. This happens because muscles aren't being sacrificed to stabilize blood sugar the way they are after a cereal-based breakfast. One woman in her early 80s described it as feeling less drained by noon. Her activities didn't change, but her endurance did. That's a classic sign that muscle metabolism has shifted from breakdown to preservation. Grip strength is another early indicator. Tasks like opening jars, holding bags, or carrying laundry feel easier. These improvements often appear before leg strength changes, but they signal that muscle tissue throughout the body is responding. Sleep can improve as well. When muscles receive enough nutrients during the day, the body doesn't need to pull from muscle tissue overnight. This reduces nighttime stress signals and can lead to deeper, more restful sleep. Better sleep then feeds back into better muscle repair, creating a positive cycle. It's important to understand that rebuilding muscle after 60 is rarely about adding more food. It's about changing the message food sends. Cereal tells the body to prioritize short-term energy. The foods we discussed tell the body to protect and maintain muscle. Another key point is patience. Muscle tissue responds slowly at this stage of life. That doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means changes are occurring at a cellular level before they become visible. Many people quit too early because they expect results in days. In reality, the most meaningful improvements show up over weeks, then months. What matters is consistency, not perfection. Rotating the 5 breakfast foods across the week keeps muscles responsive and prevents adaptation. Repeating cereal daily does the opposite. It locks the body into a pattern of muscle loss that feels inevitable but isn't. If there's one mistake to avoid, it's adding these foods on top of cereal instead of replacing it. That usually leads to excess calories without changing the metabolic signal. The benefit comes from removing the cereal signal, not just adding protein. By now, the pattern should be clear. Muscle loss after 60 is not a personal failure, and it isn't an unavoidable consequence of aging. It's often the result of habits that no longer match how the body works. Cereal became popular because it was convenient and marketed as healthy. For a younger body, it often was. For an older body, it quietly undermines muscle by prioritizing quick energy over repair and stability. That's why so many seniors feel weaker despite eating regularly. The 5 breakfast foods we discussed work because they solve specific age-related problems. Steel-cut oats stabilize blood sugar and protect muscle from breakdown. Greek yogurt improves protein absorption when digestion slows. Cottage cheese feeds muscle over long periods. Lentils supply repair-focused amino acids that become harder to obtain with age. Properly prepared oatmeal creates the conditions muscles need to respond. None of these foods are exotic. None require supplements or special products. They work because they align with how muscles behave after 60. The goal isn't to create a perfect breakfast or follow rigid rules. It's to choose foods that keep muscle tissue supported between meals and overnight. That support builds slowly, but it builds reliably. If you're just starting, focus on removing cereal from breakfast a few days per week. Replace it with one of the foods discussed and observe how your body responds over time. Pay attention to balance, recovery, and energy rather than weight or appearance. Strength after 60 often shows up first as confidence. Confidence to move without hesitation. Confidence to stay active longer. Confidence to trust your body again. These changes matter more than numbers on a chart. Once muscle breakdown slows, rebuilding becomes possible. That's when walking feels easier, stairs feel less intimidating, and daily tasks stop feeling like challenges. Breakfast sets the tone for the entire day. When it supports muscle, everything that follows becomes easier. When it doesn't, the body spends the rest of the day compensating. If this information helped you see breakfast differently, consider sharing it with someone who still believes weakness is inevitable with age. Often, the most powerful changes are the simplest ones that no one ever explained. Thank you for spending this time focusing on your strength and independence.